Good evening, 507. These are my recommendations for Coca-Cola Bottling Works of Tullahoma, Tennessee. These recommendations are for the Clarksville Distribution Warehouse where I am employed and not the overall entire organization structure. Because it was stressed to us to do the jobs we were hired for and not to concern ourselves with anyone else's positions or duties. I believe that it can be implied that if one entity of and one entity has these problems, then surely it is consistent throughout. I will focus on hiring ethical job candidates, code of ethics and conduct, and ethical training. Okay, hiring ethical job candidates. I scored poorly. I have 2 yeses and 5 nos. Okay, ethics is not highlighted in any of the job openings or listings, and it was also not highlighted within the my interview process. Uh, my recommendations for this would be to uh, place the ethical standards that are expected of potential employees in the job listings, as well as make it known up front in the interview process that the people that we are looking for to fill our positions need to embody the standards that are set forth by the company. Um, and also, a standard must be set as to which a potential candidate can be judged by, instead of assuming that a candidate can't do something because of a hairstyle or the like. Because I heard one of the secretaries, discuss the possible candidates were denied because of, possibly their hair would get in the way of them accomplishing a job or something to that effect. Okay, also, there were no ethical dilemma questions that were asked. My recommendation for this would be to have it implemented to where an employee can truly get a grasp how a reaction that an employee will get in a ethical situation. Okay, drug screening and health screenings are done prior to employment, so that was one of my yeses, and I think that is a outstanding portion, as well as background checks are conducted. Um, I don't know how detailed it is. I believe it's just basically a soft background check, basically checking your um, criminal history and the like. Okay, now we'll move on to code of ethics and conduct. Okay, this was kind of disturbing. They scored all no's, and basically there are no written standards where an employee can get expectations of what's expected of them at work. Um, there's no extensive code of conduct. It's fairly simple. Basically, show up for work and don't steal anything. If you do those two things, you're pretty much guaranteed to keep your job. Um, the organization's strategic plan was not discussed. at all. So there was no indication whether the code of ethics was implied, but you know, referring back to the interviews that I conducted with employees that have been there, a week up to 30 years, there was no kind of ethical standards that were set forth. Um, and the managers vocally supporting the code of ethics and conduct, that would be kind of difficult since it hasn't been really established or displayed. So, how can you support something that you don't know or understand, which was paramount across the board from the new hiree to the GM. Um, and since it's already been established that no one has done any kind of code of ethics or there's nothing established, we can almost assume that there has been no annual training that has been conducted. My recommendation for this would be to, develop a code of ethics and conduct. And if the main office or main entity has these standards, that they need to push them down to the lower organization so that everybody can be on the same board. Because that's the only way that any kind of change and growth will occur in the organization. Okay, now we will move on to ethical training. Again, this one scored low. Uh, as I stated before, there has been no ethical training conducted since I have been employed. And again, the personal interviews that I conducted, none of the employees had done any training either, and that included, like I said, the general manager who had been there 30 years. When I asked him what kind of ethics did they base their standards off of, they said they loosely go off the corporate organization. But since this is a privately held company that basically just has the license to bottle Coke products and to distribute them, I think they have a little bit more leeway as far as when it comes to ethics, and they can kind of set their own. But again, like I said, those have not been set or established. But if a training program, which is my recommendation, is developed, then we can get all employees on the same page and ensure that when a conflict or something arises or a situation arises, that the employees know how to deal with the situation and handle it properly. Um, and I think that's the would be the best recommendation. In conclusion, I believe that this is a great organization to work for. Um, the standards of conduct, the code of ethics, really need to be set forth so that the employees know the standard to which they can judge themselves and the organization as a whole, and carry all this into their personal lives and thus into the world, and therefore making the world a better place. It's been a great semester. I want to thank y'all, and I look forward to reading your comments. And just to recap, um, I read this was my first opening statement. Code of ethics and conduct, scored lowly. Okay, that was my second statement about the code of ethics and conduct. And this is my statement about ethical training. So again, thank you. Have a wonderful evening and best of luck with your future endeavors.